a Jim Beam Wild Wednesday on the Fan, and we've got your tickets to see the Wild take on the Vancouver Canucks on December 3rd. Be caller number 13 right now to win your way in with a pair of tickets. Call 800-320-5326.
Ladies and gentlemen, a new friend has joined the Feasting Covenant. My man went to Minnetonka High School, class of 2010. He also was drafted into the National Football League in 2014 by the Philadelphia Fighting Eagles. Got a Super Bowl ring at U.S. Bank Stadium when Philadelphia beat Tom Brady, and also part of a super popular podcast run by former NFL player Chris Long, that's Howie's kid, called Green Light. He's also an elite football mind. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome in former Super Bowl champion, Beau Allen, ladies and gentlemen. He's here at the Wednesday Football Feast. What up there, B.A.?
How we doing? Thanks for having me today.
Good. Pretty cool coming to the Football Feast, isn't it?
It is. I actually grew up very close to here, so I'd come to this very same Buffalo Wild Wings in high school, watch sports, and now things have come full circle, and here we are.
And we can begin the middle portion of the 9 to noon radio show because Beau's grandmother has arrived.
Yeah.
All right. Round of applause for every grandma in the history of grandmas. I mean, Thanksgiving and grandma, that just like goes hand in hand. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It doesn't get much better than that. She's my biggest fan, but more importantly than that, I think she's your biggest fan as well.
Mine? Must be something for the name Allen.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Now, what is her Thanksgiving dish? What does Grandma make really well on Thanksgiving?
Grandma likes white wine with a couple ice cubes in it. That's what Grandma wants.
Let's go, Grandma! Wow, Grandma's gonna be riding that reindeer.
That's fantastic.
Around Christmas time. Now, as we were laying out the accolades for former Philadelphia Eagles, Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive tackle Beau Allen, Minnetonka High School class of 2010, also won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. You may notice that we skipped right over the college years, given a certain game a couple of days from now. You see, when you're introducing a new friend, the last thing you want to do is get somebody booed. But Beau played for 4 years for the Wisconsin Badgers. And now, okay, let's just get this out the system right now, okay? When Beau was playing with the Wisconsin Badgers, they happened to go 4-0 against the Golden Gophers, winning each game by an average of 3 touchdowns. So they don't kill the messenger, okay? The one with 3 chins. Those are the stats. Those were the results. As a Minnesotan, I mean, that just had to be super special, right? Just running roughshod on the local team.
The Axe game is always one of the best rivalries in college sports. I love the trophy. It's unbelievable. And there's a lot of animosity between those two college programs. And that was always a game that was circled on my calendar. So that was
of course
fun to go 4-0 there.
What did you ever do anything with the Axe? Did you ever do anything fun with the Axe? You never had to have a season without it. So you had plenty of opportunity.
Gave it to Grandma with 2 bottles of white wine, and she carved turkeys with it.
Exactly. No, it's just such a cool trophy. I mean, it's a giant 6-foot axe, and you grab it, you feel like a barbarian, And the tradition is when you win, especially in in the away stadium, you'll go chop down the goalpost and kind of parade it around and show all the fans. So, I mean, it is fun to have a photo shoot with that, and all the accompanying celebrations are.
All right. So obviously it worked out. Your decision to go to Wisconsin was a good one. It launched you into a pro career. Well, why'd you pick Wisconsin over any? You could have gone anywhere. Why'd you pick Wisconsin?
I love Wisconsin. My dad is here as well. He's a Badger alumni.
What's up, Pops?
Yeah. Gotta give him some love.
So your dad's hammered right now, is what you just told us. Okay.
He's a Wisconsin Badger. My parents met at school there. My uncle played football there. But,
so there was history.
There's some family ties. But other than that, it's just a great.
Understood.
Great school, great college town, great athletic department. And then I was in the business school at Wisconsin, so some, good academic program as well. But I just love the whole college atmosphere, everything kind of involved with that.
So, Beau, what I hear you saying is your dad went to school in Wisconsin. Did you grow up in Wisconsin as well? No, went to school in Wisconsin.
He grew up in Hopkins, Minnesota.
Okay, he's from Hopkins.
Yeah.
Whatever reason, went to Wisconsin.
So is your dad Benedict Allen or Benedict Arnold?
Right.
It's Allen, right?
Hey, we're proud Badgers, all right?
Understood. And a lot of respect coming from us. We're just joking around. We're KFAN raised.
He goes to Wisconsin for college, and then he decides, I'd like to have a a meaningful career, or I'd like to find a girlfriend with her teeth. And then, of course,
Honey,
it comes
stop
back here to Minneapolis. And then you would think that knowing that, we would have look, you're going to end up back here anyway. Why not just, you could have just gone to Minnesota. But
Yeah, but Wisconsin's a better school, so.
Oh,
And you have family.
Now the truth comes
you have
out.
family lineage there. I mean, that stuff matters.
Yeah.
And you know what's cool is in Beau's first year at Bucky, he played with J.J. Watt. I think it was J.J. Watt's final year.
Yep.
And the Watt family's rolling through there. You got Derek. I don't know if he played with TJ, but he
played with all three of them.
Played with all of them.
Yeah.
But J.J. Watt, so he's a pass rushing defensive end, all up and down the line and everything. Here you come from Minnetonka High School, defensive lineman. You're in the same meeting room at age 18 or 19 with J.J. Watt. Holy cow, how cool was that?
Yeah, it was cool. And he was a great player in college, super productive. And like you said, we would move him up and down the line, and obviously had an unbelievable NFL career. So to be able to learn from someone like that and kind of, model some of your game after a preeminent player, when you're young, and kind of, take notes and just study the way they prepare and, the way they practice. It really helps you. It helps you play better, to learn those little tricks and stuff like that. So he's a great player, and I really enjoyed playing with him.
Well, I mean, it's with TJ, that TJ Watt is, in my estimation, a favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year every year when the schedule comes out. So, the schedule comes out, you start establishing odds and stuff like that. I mean, TJ's the bomb. Since you know them both and you played with them both, JJ's bigger. Is it fair to say TJ's faster? What's the difference between those two?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. They're both very physical players. They're both so productive. That's the thing that I think is so impressive to me about them is they can win. They both had the ability to win one-on-one matchups, stuff like that. Obviously, TJ's, more dominant on the edge. JJ played inside a lot, 3 technique, but he'd also play in the edge in that Texan scheme.
Yeah.
Anyway, they both just have this uncanny knack of just making plays. You see them get their hands up. There was a season earlier in JJ's career where he had so many PBUs and things like that, but then you see them both get a pass breakup and then get a pick off of it and things like that. Just an unbelievable ability to make plays that I feel like you just can't coach. You just kind of have that feel. I guess they have that kind of feel in their family or whatever. But no, two great players, and TJ's part of a great linebacking core that's really come from Wisconsin. There's a lot of really good linebackers from Wisconsin that are playing in the NFL. One of them is actually in Minnesota, and that's AVG.
Had
a very productive year, but
that's right.
Two great players, and also proud Badger alumni.
Do you remember him wearing the red and white? Was he the bomb there? Because I'm not an elite AFC mind unless the Vikings are getting ready to play the team. Then I'll watch their stuff to memorize numbers. So it's same thing with Blake Cashman.
Yeah.
I had no idea how good Andrew Van Ginkel was until he got here, and then he picked off one of our new quarterbacks, Danny Dimes, in the first game of the year.
Yeah, he's a really smooth athlete, which is. He's so versatile as a player. He's a great chess piece for Flores and Viking scheme, and I love watching him play too. He plays really hard. He kind of just looks like a wild man. He's got the hair and everything. He's a great player.
Well, Beau Allen at Beau_Allen via Twitter. Follow him as 9 to Noon does if you get the opportunity. Part of the Green Light podcast. Very popular, very good too, with Chris Long and others. But Beau's part of the family. Lastly, here on this, the down memory lane we go, and the nostalgia is, what was it like? I know you lost the game, but what was it like to play in the Rose Bowl?
It was great. It's probably one of my favorite, college stadiums to play in. I still kind of remember, all the pageantry is so much fun, especially the big bowl game like that. The Rose Bowl was the bowl game.
Yeah.
If you're a Big Ten football player.
Granddaddy of them all.
Exactly. And I still remember the way that field smelled. It was immaculate. And it's the Rose Bowl. There's roses everywhere. And there's kind of this fragrance in the air. So that was an unbelievable experience. Obviously would have loved to have won the Rose Bowl. I lost 3 in a row, which was a bummer.
3 Rose Bowls?
3 Rose Bowls, yeah.
So, I know you won the Capital One.
Yeah.
I didn't know you played in 3.
Yeah, well, unlike the Gophers, we actually went to
Honey.
Now you didn't have to go there, Beau.
See, it's going to get adversarial here, okay? Because he played for the Eagles, that Eagles team where big boy Kyle Rudolph scored the first touchdown. Ain't no stopping us now after the miracle. Then we got blasted 38-0 the rest of the way. They come to our building, win the Super Bowl, beat Brady, got the Philly special in play, though. So it's you got a lot of stuff that's kind of working against the crowd right now. Can we just like minimize the college part of it and save it for the pros?
Yeah, we'll get nicer as we.
Did you win any state titles at Minnetonka?
Well, Eden Prairie.
No, actually, I missed it in Minnetonka, but I actually ran into one of my former Minnetonka coaches here who coached me when I was a fullback. I played a lot of fullback when I was at Minnetonka High School and ran into him here, so another full circle moment.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of fun.
Lastly, go ahead.
Now, we're in Eden Prairie now. You want to take any shots at the Eden Prairie Eagles?
What's that?
You want to take any shots at the Eden Prairie Eagles while you're here? That had to be a problem for you guys in Minnetonka,
They were a
right?
problem. They were kind of the big dogs back in the high school football days. They beat us in the section finals every year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're a great organization. That's actually where Blake Cashman was.
Why you got to call a high school an organization? NIL hasn't come to the high school ranks yet. Okay. Well, speaking of NIL, lastly here, and then we'll get into some pro stuff. In this day and age of name, image, likeness, NIL, are spots like Camp Randall, Dinkytown, University of Minnesota, or Wisconsin, even Lincoln, like Nebraska, which Nebraska football has been immortality back to the Tom Osborne days. But in the day and age of NIL, are schools like that behind the proverbial 8 ball?
Yeah, I mean, I think they are. It was interesting, though, because you mentioned that. Listen, money talks in NIL era of college football, and it's such an evolving thing, and it feels interesting to keep up with at time. But I just saw that Michigan flipped a huge quarterback recruit.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, I think that's because of money, right?
For sure.
Let's just call a spade a spade,
right?
And it's hard because historically, Wisconsin as a program, like we have not paid players. We don't necessarily have the ability to. So you need to attract these top-level recruits through, money that might be less, but also, an outstanding academic school and a college town and a great football program and things like that. So it's just going to be interesting to see how, schools like Wisconsin and Minnesota play the NIL game. I think you need to be a lot more targeted with your approach. But it seems like the Wild West of college football right now. And
Big time.
I'm interested to see how it keeps going. But I do think that, these northern schools are at a natural disadvantage, and you're going to have to come up with money through boosters or other, marketing and whatever you got to do to pay these players, because that's what gets the recruits in this era. So.
Amen. And I'm not negative on NIL at all. I'm not negative on the transfer portal either. However, I do recognize, because PJ Fleck he's stressed it so many times, and I've heard other coaches do it. And it drove Nick Saban out of the game. Just having to deal with stuff like this. Nick Saban, crazy. But it's almost like you're recruiting the next batch to come in and help while you're recruiting the guys on your current team who aren't playing as much as they want to play. Yeah. You're recruiting them to be like, come on, hey, next year this, and you're making promises. Some probably are false promises, but you have to, in essence, recruit them while they're with the team to get them to stay. I mean, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and I think exactly what you're saying. I think that can make it hard to develop players at times. I mean, at my college experience, they were tough on us. They tried very hard to mold us into the kind of player that they wanted in their program, and sometimes that can create friction. Not in a bad way or anything like that, but college football is hard and it's a lot of work. So I guess the thing that I get concerned about with NIL and the transfer portal is, can it still create the same college football atmosphere and experience that I enjoyed so much? Right. Mm-hmm. I think it can, but I think it can also lead to a lot of people shuffling in and out of programs, and that that's not the college experience that I had. So it kind of remains to be seen in some sense, but it's definitely...
That's done. The way you explained it, the precious is too strong, but the really satisfying, just kind of wholesome-ish feeling of a college town like Camp Randall, a Big Ten school. Now it's, hey, I don't know if this to happen anywhere, but it's like, dog, I got mine. Yeah. Dog, I got 120. Why'd you only get 55?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those hey, dog, look at this on social media. Somebody figured out you got 58. My man over here got 116, and you were better in high school. Right. That's going to throw people off. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, it's something I'm very interested to see how it continues to develop. Going back a little bit to what we talked about previously is how do football programs like call it Wisconsin and Minnesota keep up with big SEC teams with deep pockets.
Right.
I think you just need to be very targeted about kind of finding the right guy and developing them. And if you get the right guy, they won't be enticed by some of these other flashy kind of
Great
offers.
point.
But it's tough. It's a kind of a tough landscape to navigate, really.
Beau, I know you're following the NFL very closely still. You were a longtime Eagle, 4 years, correct?
Yes, sir.
I think the Eagles, and this is not meant to be like hot take, I think the Eagles are the best team in football right now, even better than the Lions.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that in your notes, and I know the Lions. I mean, seriously, if you think Aiden Hutchinson and Anzalone, okay, Branch and Kirby Joseph and the rookie Terrion, I mean, they have good players.
They do.
But, I can argue Hutchinson and Anzalone are the heart and soul of that defense. And then, now granted, it's Richardson and the Colts. First game without Anzalone, without both of them, they go out and do what they're supposed to do. I'm just curious why you think Philadelphia has elevated Detroit.
Well, and Beau, I'm interested in your opinion as well. Over the last 6 weeks, the best defense in football is the Eagles.
Wow.
And it's not close. Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell are the two draft picks. They had a bad secondary last year. Put a first-round pick and a second-round pick into their secondary, and both players are great.
Yeah.
They have turned that around. And then their offense, of course, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith and Saquon Barkley's running away with Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, they can win so many ways, offense and defense. I just feel like right now, with the losses of Hutchinson, that the Eagles might be the best team. It's a 1A and 1B, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit of an Eagles homer. I know where my bread is buttered, but I love the Lions as an organization. Just talking about the Eagles real quick, I'm always quick to focus on the offensive and defensive lines. Just that's my wheelhouse. But one of the similarities between those two teams is they both have really strong offensive lines.
For sure.
And I think that's what makes them both kind of run. You talked about the defensive backfield for the Eagles, and those young players are great. When they got DeJean back, that was a huge difference maker in that defense, and it's fun to see the way that he's used in Fangio's scheme. But just talking about the defensive line, I love Jalen Carter. He's got a lot of juice as a young player. You see him during the Rams game, maybe not as much of an impact on the stat sheet, but when he can command those, the center slide and things like that, opens up for other guys like Milton Williams, who's a younger player who's maybe not quite as recognized on the Eagles D-line, but I think he had 2 sacks on Sunday night. So he's a great player. But, switching
the best
to the Lions now, like I said, their offensive line is great. They obviously lost Hutch, who was leading the league in sacks.
And by the way, he remained the sack and pressure leader for 3 weeks after he went down.
Wow.
He was so far ahead.
He was on a tear, man.
He was.
But for them to kind of, not necessarily bounce back, but for them to absorb some of those injuries defensively and, kind of still, not have a major drop-off in play is a testament to both the guys that they have, on the field and in the locker room, but then their D coordinator is really good too, Aaron Glenn. They get a ton of interceptions.
Damn.
And they play so hard. I love the way that they've kind of created an identity in Detroit, the culture that they have. I've mostly just talked about defensively. Offensively, they're so efficient. And you see Jared Goff playing so well. So, I think those are the two best teams in the NFL. I'm gonna say that the Eagles, I think, are better just because I think they're slightly more exciting.
Guys, the Chiefs haven't lost a game.
But they've lost one game.
Oh, they did?
They lost to Buffalo.
Oh, the Buffalo game, my bad.
Yeah.
Hey, with Beau, when I first met Beau and Chris Long at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center, came on for a segment 9 to noon, the Tuesdays that we're out there, and thus New Friend Covenant. When he talked about the Eagles, off what you were saying, he mentioned Jalen Carter. I'll never forget, I'm talking about the Lions with Beau, all right? And it's Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta, the Hawkeye, greatest tight end season history of the NFL for rookies last year. And Jamison Williams, head on straight, fast down the field. What about the two-headed running attack, Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs? But when I brought up defensive tackle Aleem McNeil.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I mean, what an elite Aleem McNeil mind he was. I mean, he went for like 4 minutes on the nuance of what makes him like the most underrated player. And I love Aleem.
Aleem the Dream.
And he is one of the most, if not the most underrated, like Jonathan Grenard for the Vikings. I think he's underrated because of what he does against the run. McNeil is underrated because of what he does against the pass, because they think he's just a fat guy in the middle, and he's not. But Aleem McNeil and the interior of that defense is key.
Yeah. Well, I'd also be remiss to not mention Frank Ragnow. I feel like we're in his neck of the woods.
Van Hassett.
Yeah.
We are probably 5 minutes from his house right now.
And
his grandma might be here sipping red wine with your grandma and white wine.
Yeah, exactly. But he's a great player, and I played against him a lot, in the NFL, and I have so much respect for his toughness and just his ability as a center. I think he's really good, too. But I'm sure him and Aleem have had some unbelievable battles in camp and stuff like that. Those are two great, interior line players for the Lions. I think the Lions are really good. I mean, the NFC North is an impressive division.
Yeah.
So they'll be...
what about Kenny Clark?
Kenny Clark's really good, too.
The bomb.
He's smooth, yeah. He's
still good at this stage of his career.
He's very good. He's a guy, like, people call him a nose guard, which is kind of what he's been in the scheme. But he's a dude, like, he can play anywhere on the defensive line, and he's a great technician. I really love his hand use and just how smooth he is crossing center's face on different blitzes and run stunts and things like that. I've been a long-time Kenny Clark fan. I think he's a great player.
I ain't trying to get too hardcore here and see if you've noticed this too. When the Vikings went to Lambeau to play Green Bay. So we're deep diving, the memorizing numbers and stuff, and like Pete Bursich, analyst for the Vikings Radio Network. He played in the league, coached in the league. He sees things more clearly than do I. And when we're talking about a pregame about these nice tackles, Kenny Clark into a cat named TJ Slayton.
Yep.
Now, Slayton had a big game against us last year, and I'm like, damn, where'd that come from? And but Bursich was like, just wait for Slayton, second quarter on. He gets really tired, and they got to take him out for like long patches. Then they put him in, and he fires on everything. But do you notice that with him? And is that like a characteristic of defensive tackles overall simply because of their size?
Yeah, I mean, I've played in defensive schemes where you have a little bit of a rotation. Like that Eagles team, we won the Super Bowl with. We had a really deep defensive line unit. And I think that can make a huge difference. Like the ability to play a lot of snaps, like it's hard. It's especially pass rushing. You'll always see the classic things like during 2 minute, the first 5 or 6 snaps, all the D linemen are rolling, and then as the 2 minute drill progresses and the same D line has been on the field for 8 to 10 snaps, like you don't have the same amount of juice that you had earlier in that series. So I don't,
See, for you guys, man, back then and even now a little bit, even though he's lost his step, but he's still one of my favorite guys, is the diminutive, shorter defensive end, Brandon Graham. All right, now we're talking 2017, Super Bowl after the 17. My man's twitch was unbelievable. He was, you played with him, unbelievably quick. They'd move him inside on second and long, third and long, and stuff like that, and it destroyed games at times, right?
Yeah, and he got that sack on Brady in the Super Bowl from a 3 technique, with that outside rush. But yeah, you want to be able to have guys that you can move in and out. You want to be able to have a defensive line rotation where you can keep guys fresh, keep them going. And that's a big thing. The thing that's always so impressive to me is when you get guys like Dexter Lawrence, who's the nose guard for the Giants, who play. He's 360 pounds, and he probably plays 60 snaps a game. Wow. Very high level. But that's not, that's the outlier. Yeah. That's uncommon to have that kind of juice and energy for that many snaps is rare.
Well, then, think about, so you graduated Minnetonka High School 2010, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there we are at 18. So think about, when you started middle schoolish before that, you started to know, hey, I'm bigger, I'm faster, we might be onto something here. And whether you're a Vikings fan or not, those are the games you get locally, and you're watching Kevin Williams.
Yep. Pat and Kevin Williams.
Well, Pat for sure, but it's like Pat. One time somebody said something to him about fat guy in the middle. He's like, "I'm not fat, I'm fine." I'm not fat, I'm fine. Yep. So, but with Kevin, he was a bigger guy, was tall. His passes defensed at the line were the bomb, which are important from that spot.
Yeah.
But watching Kevin Williams, you remember that?
Yeah, I do. I love Pat and Kevin Williams, and then that's when Jared Allen was rolling off the edge too. And obviously, Allen's a great last name.
Yeah.
So
you were in 8th grade with that 09 team, right?
Yep.
Oh no, you were a junior.
I was in high school.
Yeah, you were a junior.
But it was cool. I got to meet some of those guys.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I got some all-state honors or something as a high school prep player.
Sweet.
And got to go to the old Vikings facility and meet some of those guys. So that was cool for me. But I loved watching that. I think like Brian Robeson too.
Yeah. Ray Edwards.
Yeah, Ray Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
this is Beau Allen. He is from Minnetonka, won a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's an elite football mind, part of the Green Light Podcast, which is run by Chris Long. It's very, very good. Green Light Podcast, football-ish. They talk about other things, and give it a listen. A final segment with Beau's around the corner, and we'll mix up some NFL-wide topics. Daniel Jones reportedly the quarterback for the Giants, reportedly after being cut by the Giants, cleared waivers, and according to reports, unless the team has confirmed it, but like Tom Pelissero, Adam Schefter, all the big dogs have reported the Minnesota Vikings have signed Daniel Jones to their practice squad. We'll see what Beau thinks about that and much more from Buffalo Wild Wings Chanhassen. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, on behalf of 9 to Noon.
Join the Power Trip's Zach Halverson tonight at B52 Burgers and Brew in Inver Grove Heights for a Wild Watch Party. Get there at 6 p.m. to watch your Minnesota Wild in action and to sign up for your chance to qualify for first-round playoff tickets next year. Get the full details now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
With Beau Allen, Beau_Allen via Twitter, part of the Green Light Podcast. Give that a listen with Chris Long. 9-2 Vikings? What are we thinking? 9-2 Vikings. You're an elite football mind. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a really good football team. Love the way they're built. Love watching B-Flow's defense. I think it's really exciting. You never really know. Is he blitzing? What kind of blitz is it? Who's coming? Who's not coming? You got 6 guys up at the line presenting a zero blitz look. All of a sudden, a couple of them drop out, and Caleb Williams gets confused in a critical moment in overtime and holds the ball for 9 seconds and takes a coverage sack. So that's. But also, just offensively, just speaking from the most recent game against, division opponent Chicago Bears. So many guys on offense produce so well, which is fun to see. Obviously, Justin Jefferson's an elite talent. One of my favorite guys watching. I actually met him this summer when we were up at camp. Yeah. When we were hanging out a little bit. He's such a good dude, too. He's like the perfect combination of ultra swaggy, but also just a good guy. He takes so much attention from defenses at guys like Addison, and it was great to see T.J. Hawkinson produce too.
Big time.
Run game was going as well, so I think the Vikings are in a great spot, and I don't know how you
like Eagles, Lions, Vikings. Would those be your top 3 in the NFC? You put what do you got?
Yeah,
Packers are in this conversation.
Vikings already beat them.
Yeah. I put the Packers up there. I kind of like the Seahawks as well, just because I like Mike McDonald. And I like his defensive coach. His defensive scheme. But I'd say that the NFC North has 3 of the best teams in the NFC.
Yeah, they just set the NFL record. Packers just set the NFL record for the most wins for a third-place team heading into Week 13. Usually you're sitting on 8 wins at this point, and you're doing a little better than third place.
Right.
All right, talk to me about Daniel Jones. This is the story of the day.
Yeah.
And it might be anything happens to Sam Darnold. This could end up being a monumental signing for this team. What are your thoughts about picking up Daniel Jones and seeing what you've got with Daniel Jones over the remainder of the season, hopefully?
Yeah, it's a very unique situation, right? And I think it makes a lot of sense. I always, as a former player, I'm always kind of looking at things through the lens and the scope of as a player.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm Daniel Jones, it's like, what a great situation to come into. It's, KOC is a great offensive mind, but he's also just kind of like a calming presence. And I don't really know him that well personally. Got to know him a little bit this summer, but every time you listen to him speak, he just comes across as so poised and calm and intelligent. And he's a guy that really gets the most out of his players. I mean, look at the way that he's developed Sam Darnold and kind of the similarities between Sam Darnold's situation and Daniel Jones. It's it just speaks to the how much sense that this this opportunity with Daniel Jones would make. And if I'm Daniel Jones, like, you come into a good team, an established program, and you kind of not necessarily reinvent yourself, but kind of calm down, relax, learn a scheme. And it might make sense for a potential marriage in the future as well. So I think there's so many positives for him as a player. And then, on the Viking side of things, you gain a guy who has a lot of experience. Sometimes they say you're only as good as your backup quarterback.
Right.
In the NFL. Like, look at look at Case Keenum for the Vikings in that 2017 NFC Championship season. He had a great season that year, but it's such a boon and such a benefit to have the security blanket of an established NFL quarterback, just as a little extra measure.
Well, Beau, if possible, help us with this. I've gotten the question 3 times. I haven't asked the team yet because I don't think they've confirmed the signing. And I know you can respect stuff like that. I think the reports are right, but I don't think they're going to answer certain questions like practice squad, all right? So he clears waivers. Giants are paying the 11.8, let's call it 12. There was some injury-related bit where if he got hurt and he gets 23 guaranteed, something like that's all gone.
Yeah.
So now, say when this goes official and he's on the Vikings practice squad, does that mean another team can pick him off the practice squad? Then they got to make him active on their roster for, I think, at least 3 games. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, I think though that the player has a little bit of a say in that.
Oh,
so
really?
They've actually changed the practice squad rules around a lot since
they have since COVID. Yeah,
years.
It's changed a lot.
It's almost like the familiarity that I have with it feels a little bit different. I was thinking about that as well, PA. Like, I'm going to have to look into that, but I think that as you can get claimed on waivers, and as a player, you don't have any control over that. I think if you sign as a practice squad player, like, you can get offered by other teams.
Yeah.
They can't just come in and snag you without you kind of agreeing to, kind of go there and do that whole thing. So, but I guess part of that too is usually teams will keep, there's also new practice squad rules where you have a practice squad quarterback that you can elevate at different times.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not as familiar with those.
But if this Jones thing is accurate, they're carrying 4 quarterbacks. So you got Mullins, Brett Rippon, who's on the active roster every game, but he's the one that gets crossed out.
Yeah.
And then now you got Jones practice squad. So maybe this is Rippon practice squad, Jones active.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking as well. I definitely think that. I think that if that were the case, I don't think any team's going to come kind of snag him up and take and sign him without him having a say in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the player couldn't block it, but if the player says, "I'm not playing for you," I think teams kind of you're handcuffed at that point, and Daniel Jones, he signed here for a reason. This is the team that he wants to play for if he's going to play. So.
And he and McCarthy, one thing we didn't say earlier, it's you guys. You and Greenwood went through it beautifully. It's with Darnold most likely won't be here next year. Either he's earned a high end backup type deal or a starter's deal.
He'll be a starter.
McCarthy's coming off the injury, and he'll be a starter. Okay, McCarthy's coming off the injury, and he's coming off an injury and hasn't played a regular season game. And behind that, so now you can get first round equity with a staff, a calming staff, like Beau said, that is proven to work very well with not only quarterbacks but situations. So it all adds up. But when this practice squad situation is what I would like to parse through before I know exactly what's happening with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, but at the end of the day,
and I forgot what I was going to say.
This also tells you, by the way, Vikings are here to win. They're here to win the Super Bowl this year.
I have absolute confirmation what Beau Allen said was right.
Okay.
If a team gets claimed off a practice squad, they have a choice.
Okay.
So
good.
Daniel can be like, no, I'm not going to wherever. So
great.
Practice squad players can be like, nah. Okay, cool. You got an extra 60, an extra 80, an extra 1, whatever. Cool, I'm staying here.
Yeah. And he doesn't need the money. Daniel Jones doesn't need, he can make he's getting paid by the Giants, so it's not, it won't be a money factor for him like there are other players that are making practice squad money, and they have the opportunity to go get a full active squad paycheck. And like, I'm gone.
Let's go back and forth quickly over the course of a couple minutes so Beau can get back to his food with his dad and his grandmother. So, like, you do a topic, Beau answers it fast. I'll do one back and forth. Go.
Kyler Murray coming up against the Vikings. Your thought on the unique stylings that he brings to the table and what makes him a tricky opponent?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a great athlete. He's done a really good. I think he's really progressed as a player. The thing that I always go back to with him is, again, I'm a defensive lineman. He's so mobile, and he can create so many deep plays to Marvin Harrison. Excuse me, outside of the pocket. You want to try to see your defensive, front seven really do a really good job of caging him in, keeping him in the pocket, and trying to get him to throw from that well. You saw Caleb Williams escape the pocket on Sunday at Soldier Field and hurt the Vikings. So I think that's going to be a primary focus of them. And then, I like Kyler. I think he's a good player. He's pretty dynamic. So keep him in the pocket, make him throw from the pocket. And I think that'll be a key.
I'll just lay it out like this, and they play tomorrow. The whole Dallas vibe. The whole Dallas vibe from start of this year. Just the whole Dallas vibe. How do you explain it?
I'm out on Dallas. I'm so sick of watching the Cowboys in prime time. Obviously, they have a Thanksgiving game every year. I played at Jerry World. I love watching football. I watch just about every game. I don't even think I'm going to watch that one. The vibe, I don't like the vibe.
Yeah, the vibe sucks.
The vibe sucks.
Jerry yesterday said he's considering a new contract for Mike McCarthy.
Right. Now, he
What?
Yeah, you got to read the rest of the quotes to understand the context, but he did say it. When I read that, I'm like, there must be a deal where Jerry Jones is getting to call plays during the game. I mean, it's like he's getting to do something nobody's ever done, like call 5 third downs, maybe call 3 first downs. You got super special call sheet with your son next to you up in the suite. There's got to be something if he for him to say that. Secondly, last for me, the Vikings host Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons a week from Sunday. How about that one? Just Kirk O'Chain versus his former squad. What do you think?
We walk in the trap. We take over the trap. That'll be an interesting game. I mean, the Falcons, they're in a weird spot in the NFC South. They beat the Bucs twice. I think I'm a little bit of a Bucs homer. I feel like they're going to kind of take it down the stretch with a somewhat easier schedule. If they can get their run game going,
the Bucs?
The Bucs or the Falcons?
Sorry, the Falcons.
Oh.
The Falcons.
Yeah, because the Bucs just got Mike Evans back. I mean,
they did get Mike back, which is big.
I like that tight end, Cade Otton, too. He's sneaky good.
Yeah, he's a really good player. He's a very solid Y. You know what I mean? Like, can run good routes, catch the ball, but also is good in the run game. But going back to the Falcons, I think if they can get their run game going, it'll really help Kirk. He's not as mobile this year, coming off that injury. Their run game is pretty good. They have good backs. I've liked their O-line. The O-line's been a little banged up. But for me, this season, every game that they've struggled in, I feel like their run game has been poor. If they can get their run game going offensively, they'll be good. But then defensively, they don't have a great pass rush. So I think
Vita Vea, though.
Sorry, I was talking about the
Falcons.
No, Vita's beast.
Yeah,
you
Vita's
see that sack Vita had last week with the Giants was incredible.
Yeah, how about when he lines up at fullback?
Yeah, he's
hide the women and children.
Exactly. No, I love Vita. And, going over to the Bucs, I think the Bucs will win a lot of games coming down the stretch here and hopefully take the South.
Hey, Grandma, how'd he do? Pretty good, right? Hey, Beau Allen, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause. Super Bowl winner for coming by the Friday, Wednesday football feast. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, bud.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate y'all.
For sure, we'll stay in touch. Beau Allen, Paul Charch and Paul Allen. We're feasting at Buffalo Wild Wings Chanhassen, and more after this on KFAN.
Tune in to 9 to noon every Tuesday as PA broadcasts live from TCO to talk all things purple. TCO Tuesdays are powered by Sukup Manufacturing.
Nine to noon, FM 100.3, KFAN. Now, welcome back. It is the Wednesday football at Buffalo Wild Wings Chanhassen.
You caught him off guard a little bit.
That's all right. They
snuck one in the middle of the show.
It's like a Brian Flores defense. It catches offenses off guard, but at the end of the equation, it's the quarterback who's down on the turf, not the ratings, if you know what we mean.
Now, speaking of Flores,
Yeah.
do you believe Brian Flores will be on this staff next year?
Yes.
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 So you think that there will not be a head coaching opportunity or whatever? You don't believe that? Because we sweated this out last year too. At this time too,
Right.
Like, oh man, we're going to lose Brian Flores.
Right.
Didn't end up materializing.
I'm just going to ask you one question, and you answer it. And if you have follow-ups, then we can address it in the
All right.
in the next hour.
Okay.
Is he still part of multiple lawsuits against the National Football League?
At least one.
Want to talk about anything else?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. We can hit that. If you want to hit that in a future segment, we can.
Okay. Well, I'll follow it up with a statement. He received 0 overtures or calls into this run.
Last year. Yes.
Last year.
Yes.
Still want to talk about it?
Well, yeah, and here's why. Last year, first of all, he'll have proven it 2 years in a row that he is a difference maker defensive coordinator.
Yep.
Last year, the Vikings defense kind of fell apart in December. We're hoping that does not happen this time around. It came in on a negative vibe into the coaching cycle because the Vikings defense did take a big step back last December. If this team continues to play very good defense the way it has most of this year, I just think at some point, he's such a compelling coaching opportunity that teams are like, okay, he did sue one of his former teams, but well, we think he's going to be great. And I'd like to think that he'd have that opportunity if that, if it presents itself.
Well, the constituents who I believe could go into the teeth of the commissioner, which is what you're doing. You're hiring and elevating and promoting and making the face of a franchise somebody that is suing the league for which you work.
Well, suing the Dolphins specifically, I believe, not the league. I believe.
Well, there are a couple out there.
Are there?
That he's part of, and I believe, the hiring practices, just all, and the league's part of it.
Well, okay, but one of the lawsuits is like, hey, I was unfairly not given consideration, right?
Well, one of the lawsuits also unveiled the owner of the Miami Dolphins basically telling him to tank games and how to do it. And, oh, by the way, you know this certain quarterback from when you wore red, white, and blue, and there's going to be a boat at Biscayne Bay, and if he happens to be on it, he does, and I'd like you to be there. There's a lot. Yeah. Okay, so that's but we haven't heard really a lot about it. So I like Brian a lot, and if Brian wants to be a head coach and somebody wants him, then yes, I mean, of course it could happen. You have those lawsuits, but the defense, the way you're laying it out, it matters. But Brian would not have become a head coach the first time if he hadn't done enough to earn that merit or earn that job. So it's going to get into how has he handled himself, as a head coach? How does he handle himself as a coordinator? How is he away from the facility? I mean, there's a lot that goes into becoming a head coach. So a lot of it's going to be the who, what, where, when, and why of the personal and or professional. Yep. I think it's polarizing and eye-opening that he received 0 calls last year.
I was shocked by that, honestly.
Big time.
Yeah.
So, it's to say the NFL is colluding on him in kind of like, let's put it this way, all right? Matt Patricia, when he was defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, they win the Super Bowl. He gets off the plane when they land back home in Boston.
Phone's ringing.
Opens his suit coat, and he has a T-shirt with Roger Goodell on it and a clown nose.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Okay.
Really?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So that, hey, I'm part of the Belichick covenant. I got Brady. I can do what I want.
Right.
Then he gets hired by the Detroit Lions as the head coach. He go back and look at how the penalties worked in games against the Lions. Okay, I don't think he got a 50-50 call his entire run there. I don't think one thing 50-50 went his way. And it was a miserable run, and he's out.
And you think there's cause and effect there?
I don't know. I'm just saying that in the league that's run by that guy, and you're so cocksure and arrogant and such a fool, because Matt Patricia's a fool for doing this.
Yeah.
We just won the Super Bowl. I'm open my suit coat. There's Goodell's picture on my shirt with a clown nose. and now I'm going to take a head coaching job and wonder why I ain't getting any calls.
Funny how that works.
I'm not kidding. Oh, hey, how come the Lions are the only team in the history of the NFL with 4 consecutive road games?
Did that happen?
And then they come home and play the Super Bowl champions, and they got 3 in a row again. No, it didn't. But, hey, how come we're playing in the Hall of Fame game every
year? That's right. Yeah.
All right, he's Paul Charch, and I'm Paul Allen. We're feasting at Buffalo Wild Wings. Chan Hassan, don't leave. We'll be right back.